And we're on for the second part of tonight's proceedings with Tracey Wallace. Tracey and I, in case you didn't know, go way back. Not quite high school, but I'm a lot older.
I'm in high school though, Francis. I do.
Oh, okay. Well, you were a little girl, first former when I was in sixth form, right?
No, second form.
So just as bad. But so the reason I asked Tracey to come on is that she's one of our new coaches in CaribHRForum community, and this year we have a brand new commitment, which is to empower HR professionals in their personal development. So tonight we've been talking about the challenge of basically executives. And I'd say the problem like this, Tracey, and you can add to it, correct me and fix me up. But I would say that since the recession started in 2010, what we've seen in each country and in the companies and in the governments is a cut in training across the board and development dollars. So that's happened no matter, I think that's just true. And my hypothesis or observation is that only essential training is being done. And what HR professionals have done is to answer the call by saying, okay, well, phone company, we have to train the technicians or else we won't have phones. Exactly. And what they have done at the same time is not advocate for their own development and training. Because it's a little bit hard to go convince your boss that HR needs training when you can barely have enough money to train the technicians who keep the lights on, and who deliver basic service. And the result of that has been, I think, a drop in HR training. I think with the conferences, we've seen it, the attendances, what used to be 500-person conferences has dropped off to, all of them are basically 100 and something across the region. They were very healthy at one point. No, I don't get the sense that they're thriving 3-4 day extravaganzas with North Coast in Jamaica, which is prime locations, huge attendances, people flying in from overseas, getting all their expenses paid. And that was happening up to not too long ago, at least in Trinidad, where the economy was strong. Okay, that's not happening nowadays. Those days are over. But our commitment, what we came together and said, what if we helped HR professionals become bigger you, better you, to give them what they need to grow this year like no other year. And a big part of that is self-development. But before we get into self-development, you want to add to or change anything I said about the diagnosis and what brings us to this position?
No, I think you're exactly right. So the focus on training in general, I think there's now a mindfulness that there is a need for training. However, we haven't supported that with enough of a budget for training, and we haven't really identified how to budget for training. And so what will happen is that we're seeing the operations within organizations, we're finding a way, because we realize that it is essential that our people have the required training and development opportunities. And so we're sending the limited resources to them. But right. What we're forgetting is that HR and the HR team and the learning and development team, we also need to continue to hone our skills and to ensure that we are adequately developed. We're up to speed. We know what the newest trends are. We know how to really be competent in our profession. And so, as you were saying, there's absolutely a need for HR to now train HR and right. to upskill and to just really have a focus on that self-development. And I like it. It's something I normally use the same analogy, and you had used it too, where, when that oxygen mask come down, in the airplane, they always tell you as the mother, as a parent, put on your mask first, because you're not going to really be able to help anyone effectively without that oxygen. And so I see HR in the same way, that we are almost breathing like, that oxygen that you need in order to carry out the duties and to keep the company moving forward and to maximize the resources, we need that oxygen first so that we can be effective in helping them.
Right. I so agree. And I think it's just been perhaps a fear of technology that I've noticed among HR professionals in general, but certainly those in the region, because you must use technology nowadays to get training done and any kind of budget. There's the traditional classroom all day live has got to play a smaller role than it ever has. And
Right.
I was guided by a head of IT at a phone company here in the Caribbean, and he said that where he used to work, what they would do in the IT group is essentially pick a topic every month. And they would say like, okay, Tracey, your topic is Sprint software development using Sprint, using the Sprint approach or the Agile approach. And you would have to go and learn that topic and then come back and teach the others.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, that's the only way. He was telling me that's the only way they could keep up, because they have to keep up being IT. They can't be saying, oh, well, we can't send people abroad. Oh, well, we can't bring people in to train us. Oh, well. He said they had to find a way. So the person who was tasked with going to do that, obviously, they're not sending them to fly anywhere. They have to go on the internet and become self-educate and self-teach themselves.
Yeah.
First, they have to put the oxygen mask on for themselves and figure out, what does this Agile and Sprint thing even mean? What does self-develop? How do I self-develop myself in this area? And there's no guidance whatsoever. They don't call HR. Mm-hmm. They don't just tell the person, go learn it and come back and teach us. And for a topic that you know nothing about, that's a tall order. But he said that's how they had to do it, because there was no other. Their backs were against the wall, and there was no dollars. They had to go do it. So he brought the approach to the Caribbean. He brought it to the phone company from Florida where he was working. But that always struck me, because there's nothing that says that HR can't do something similar, except an unfamiliarity with self-development via the internet. No?
True. Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, so in order, even just from a scale perspective, so there's going to be the financial perspective that is going to be cheaper for you to access, because there are so many free and or very affordable resources available. But let me get back to free resources available on the internet. I mean, it is right there. But also for you to be able to scale and to get this knowledge across to, if we're talking about, when we're helping the other departments and stuff, there's no learning and development department now that is going to try to really get learning done and to change behaviors in the workplace by just conducting classroom sessions. You just can't. There is technology there to help you to get that knowledge across, to have consistent messages so that we are sure everyone is learning from the same, singing from the same hymn sheet, right. And you're actually getting it at scale that more people are doing it. So we know that that's the same type of support we need to provide for our HR people. And right. So I think what you're doing, and you can talk some more about it there, how we plan on doing it with CaribHRForum. I think it's exactly what we need to be doing for our folks.
Right. And I hate to say, but the Hacking HR that I shared before. So this is a free HR conference with 150 HR professionals who are presenting for free.
Right.
Now, how can an HR professional not attend that? But I remember when I shared it, no one said, "Oh, I've heard of it before. I'm going already." It was like brand new news. It was completely unknown. And how could something that big go unnoticed? And how could you not? It's one of these things. You go to your boss and you say, "Listen, we don't have any budget for training HR." Right? Your boss says, that is true. Yes. Why? And you say, well, listen, I just spend part of Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in a virtual conference to bring my skills up to speed. It's how much it costs. You say it's absolutely free. All right, go ahead, no problem. I like it already. that conversation to demand at least the time to get that kind of development happens so infrequently. So it becomes like an all or nothing thing. Boss, can I go to the conference, to the regional conference, for example? How much that cost? Well, I put it all together, it's a couple thousand US or so. Wow, you mad?
Yeah, and it's going to be the same type of conference that they're holding, that virtual conference. If you were going to be doing it in person, now certainly the CSHRP conference, we've been getting some deals, and the cost is nothing near a SHRM conference or an ATD conference would
those
be.
Are amazing.
Yeah, but registration, accommodation, airlines and boarding, all of that stuff will add up, and you're not going to get that for less than $1,000 US. You're not gonna.
You mean registration alone?
Yeah, true. Yeah. It's really $3,000 minimum that you're spending to attend those conferences in person.
That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. And from a Jamaican perspective, who has $330,000 sitting down for one person to attend an HR conference? Who is going to give you that? It's hard.
Not many CEOs. Yeah. It's not on. So into the breach steps our theme for the year, which is, okay, we know that the spend isn't coming back soon. None of the economies apart from Guyana, sorry. So Guyana is experiencing.
Guyana is about to come back. Yes, they are.
Everyone else is, maybe Cayman is doing okay, but everyone else, to my knowledge, Bahamas, what can I tell you? The hurricane did all kinds of damage. Jamaica, 1% growth. Barbados in recession. Trinidad doesn't know when oil and gas will ever come back. And those are the big economies in the region, and so follow the smaller economies. So it's not going to be a change anytime soon. So for us to change, we are about changing ourselves. So how should we go about that as CaribHRForum? I mean, apart from the virtual conference, which we've already talked about, but what else should we do? What else are we doing?
Well, and I think, what are we doing? Let's talk about that, because there's so much going on. I think so many exciting things are happening. And we just heard from Rochelle, and what she's doing is what we are doing, because I'm also part of that. What we are doing is really, really exciting, phenomenal, remarkable. But I think what we are going to be able to do at CaribHRForum is going to equal that. And so let me just start by the premise. Even if you do have the funding to spend on a one-time event, $3,000 US, is that really the smart way? Is that the only way? And should it be a one-time event that you're using to invest in your learning and your development? And the answer is absolutely not. So one of the things that we're going to be doing differently with the CaribHRForum and to really focus on bigger you, better you, and self-development is we're going to be having circles. And in the circles, we're going to have our members, the membership that we've had all along, people, who have committed, and they've said that, they want to be part of this forum. They want to connect and network with their HR counterparts across the Caribbean region. Well, what we want to do is actually bring you something that we know can enrich you, can truly benefit you. And so we said, you know what, how can we bring learning and development, professional development to you HR professionals? And the way we said is that we can use the network that we currently have, and we can actually do some targeted and focused work. And so you, Francis, had access, let us start off with coaching, because we just know that this is a huge need in the area. And so my thoughts for what we would do with the coaching is, yes, one, because you asked the question, how is it that more people didn't know about that Hacking HR virtual conference that is free?
Right.
Not everyone has access to the same resources. So and so in this type of
apparently,
yes, clearly. Yeah. And you don't even know that this is necessarily even a thing unless you know. And so one of the benefits of being in this type of forum is that we can share. Rochelle talked about us learning from each other, even learning things like HR laws, etc. We can learn from each other what learning and development resources are available. But I think even more important than sharing and knowing which resources are out there, it's when people ask me how you get started in this and where do you start, I kind of talk about really 5 things to know. So one, normally I tell people in learning and development, start with the end in mind. But for self-development, I say start exactly where you are. And for the people who are listening into this call, where you are is already part of a body. You're part of a supported group. And so one of the most important things with self-development is to not try to do it alone. You're going to need an accountability buddy. You're going to need people to just bounce ideas off, people to support you, people to challenge you and kind of force you to take action, as well as help you to facilitate the learning transfer. So we talked about it. So even when you do attend the conferences, how do you transition that from just this event that you attended to actually, how do we now take the knowledge and turn it into usable action to benefit our businesses? Because we are HR within business and organizations. So we need to be able to teach, we are professionals, and so our job is not just to have the education. When we're doing learning and development, it's not about getting knowledge. It's about getting new skills and abilities. How can we implement that knowledge? So having the circle and a forum like what we've created at CaribHRForum is really about then, okay, now that we've had this knowledge and we can share and point each other in the direction of where to get this knowledge, now how can I help you to implement what you've learned, to ensure that you've taken action and to challenge you when you've taken the action? Okay, well, what happened? How did it work? Why did it not work out? What can you do differently? Where should you get up and go to next? So providing that type of support, I think, is critical. That's step number 1.
Right. Let me speak to that a little bit, because that wouldn't have come in our old dispensation, because last year all we really focused on were trying to get people to join and communicate. That was our very low bar when we set up CaribHRForum community last year. Just join and communicate. That was enough in terms of our vision. That was all we had as a vision. And this year we're saying, okay, we know people know how to join and they know how to communicate. Now what? And I think the change to the now what is, instead of just having moderators who chip in when there's conversation, we now want to produce development and to enable that development. So to explain what Tracey just said a bit more, before we had limited membership in CaribHRForum, you had to be a full member to remain a member. So trial memberships were allowed for 2 weeks, and after the 2 weeks, you were taken off the platform. It was just as straightforward as that. So you're either in full or you're out. And that's the policy that we had going up all the way until about December. And the idea there was, so security was that if we wanted to have a environment where people could trust who else was there, we couldn't have anonymous members. We couldn't have people who weren't willing to self-identify and say who they are. But the effect it had is that we had 200 people, and we have about 120 on the platform right now. So we had a lot of people who came in, they just wanted to sort of sit out for a while and watch. Lurkers, not a problem, unless you make it a problem. It was a problem in our whole dispensation. But what happened in the last year is that there are some changes to the platform, some technological changes that we can now use. So now we're going to basically have 2 tiers of membership. One is the trial casual membership down here. And then in the circles that Tracey is talking about, we're going to have focused coaching conversations. And you'll have to actually apply to be a part of the circles that will be set up. So there's 3 circles that will be set up. One will be the one that Tracey will be launching next week, I think, or week after, soon.
Next week.
That will be the self-development circle. that those who are interested in having that mindset shift and in accelerating their self-development, their self-generated development, will apply, join the group, and Tracey will be coaching them, and they'll be coaching each other, not only Tracey.
Thank you. That's it. That's it.
Right. They'll be coaching each other. So there's a shift that we're asking people to, mindset shift that we're asking people to make the most of that. And then in March, we're going to be launching a consulting group, a consulting circle. And once again, follow the same process. I'll advertise it because I'll be the coach for that one. I'll take applications. I'll allow people to come in, and it'll go for a limited time, just like Tracey's area will. So I think, what did we say? I forget the time length that we had said, but you guys
3 months initially.
It was no more than 3 months, right?
Right.
For us to bring on a first set of coaches. Everyone we start with a brand new group. So it's not that you would come in and you'd be a member forever necessarily. It would go for a period of time of mutual support in self-development and in consulting, or separate group for consulting. And then the third group, which would start the month after, would be for job searching. And that would be led by Dale. And again, following the same formula, I suspect that you would have to not have a job or realize that you're going to be looking for a job sometime soon. A second. Extend event. Just give me a warning that we have 10 minutes left. And I was like, what?
10 for 30 minutes. We won't use it all.
And so the jobs would be the third area. And what they would get is coaching from each other, again, coaching from Dale. And again, these circles are private. I didn't mention that before. When you apply, join, no one outside of the circle can see the conversations going on. They're only for the people who are in the circle. So we're essentially setting up private coaching groups for self-coaching and coaching from the three of us. And that's the model that we're starting out. And we're hoping that it will multiply and add new groups. And in the future, the new capability that's on the forum is that you can actually charge. So someone could actually propose to us that, guys, I want to do a circle on, give me a topic, industrial relations.
There you go. There you go. That's a good one.
And I want to coach people and I want to charge for it. And the capability to do that, set up a private circle and charge for it, now exists. The three that I just mentioned would all be for free. But in the future, I've met many people who want the means to do some kind of e-learning with an audience of HR professionals across the region. And they just don't have the audience, don't have the technology, don't have the means to do the payment. All of that was built into the platform last year by the Mighty Networks, which is the company that we basically rent space from. So they've added these new skills on. Is that accurate? Did I miss anything, Alton?
No, I think that's it. I mean, and so in the future, the very thing that we're talking about now, about how to access your self-development, how to really get that plan going, we'll actually be able to provide a lot of that and those resources right here through the CaribHRForum. And of course, if we're doing it through CaribHRForum, it's going to be at a discounted rate than what you would get just somewhere else, as long as you're a member and can access these circles. But the one thing, actually, sorry, you did forget one thing, is that these circles are not going to be 100 large. It is going to be focused membership. Yeah, so it will be limited space, limited seating, because we want it to be manageable and we want to really be able to coach people and help move them forward along their self-development journey. So it is not going to just be open, and it won't just be these WhatsApp messages that are streaming. It really will be that we are able to coach and to support each other.
Right. It'll take us into, I mean, it requires a new level of intimacy because we're talking small groups that are supporting each other in private, a certain level of professionalism, of discretion, that what gets said in the circle stays in the circle. So absolutely. All that we'll need to reinforce in a way that wasn't never there before on CaribHRForum community, because we're really looking to as we develop each other, there is a new level of trust that's required. It's not business as usual, and it's not idle talk. This is for real development.
Real development, valuable use of your time.
Right. And then just to reiterate what you said before, is that it's a perfect add-on to the conferences that are coming up. Not just the CSHRP conference, which is, I think, the next one in the lineup, because after CHRP,
right. The first is a hacking HR.
Sorry, first is hacking HR. Then
it's going to be right in May.
Actually has theirs at the end of May, 2 weeks after.
Okay, so there will be a third in line.
Right. Then we have the Jeff conference in June.
Here in Jamaica is Jeff, Jamaica Employers Federation.
Our summit, our conference in September.
Absolutely.
Then usually her MAB goes first, then her MAT, then her MADGE is usually the last regional conference of the year.
Right.
But to add to what you said, having a place to go to continue your development after a conference is a place, I think, all of us, everyone who's ever attended a conference. I attended the ATD conference in DC along with Tracy and Dale and others. And once it was done, it was amazing how it was really done. There was nothing, no continuity, nothing came after. It was really capital D done. And I had the same thought that you said, which is that it's just an opportunity here to once you bring people together, to keep their development going. But you have to have something like a CaribHRForum community to give them a place to talk to each other.
Absolutely. And we call it's the learning transfer. So after the event, after any kind of learning event, generally it is done. And so learning should not be about an event. There needs to be some kind of intervention put in place to ensure that you're extending the learning, that you are applying the knowledge, that you're following up, you're testing it, and that you have a support system to make sure that you actually do this and that you're taking the action. And that's what we'll be here to do.
Right. Great. So there's a new philosophy. We're asking for a new mindset, and as a result, new behaviors. And before I switch over to our last networking session, let me see if there are any questions from our attendees.
Okay.
Attendees, let me know if you have any questions. I think I saw one, but no. It's telling me that there is one, but I'm not seeing the one. Let's see. Any final questions before we switch over? I don't think so. Okay, so we'll go back to the plenary session and go back to chatting at the table. We'll probably meet at the table on the right once again. Tracey, thanks so much for spending time with us.
Thanks for having me.
It's been great, and thanks for all that you're doing for the community, first as a moderator, now as a coach, and helping us to forge this brand new direction that we're heading in.
By the way, did I mention I'm a speaker at the Caribbean, the CSHRP conference? So come and see me there too.
What's your topic? Do you remember?
I do remember. Strategic HR in 8 steps.
Okay, 8 steps.
8 steps. I'm going to get you there.
8 steps. After the conference.
That's right. After the conference, we'll talk about it some more.
After the conference, we probably will, right? I mean, so many people are going to be here, and we could just arrange to have after the conference meetup online to support CSHRP in keeping the momentum going till next year. Maybe there will be a next year if there's enough momentum that we have going forward. All right, so we're signing. We'll go back to the plenary room. We're signing out from the presentation. I'll stop the recording, and we'll switch over to the big.